Hi, everyone. This is Abraham from Gozamos, and we're here at Café Catedral in Little Village. And we're here with a pretty special, awesome, one of my favorite people, frankly, in Chicago, Thelma Uranga, of one of the founding members of El Stich y Bitch. And we're actually here because today is one of your meetups, so we'll get into that a little bit more. But first, I wanted to kind of start and talk to you a little bit more, where you grew up, and maybe where you went to school, and what more than anything did you study here in Chicago?
Well, I grew up in Cicero, which is, I think it's a southwest suburb. And I've lived there my whole life. My parents moved there from Little Village. And it was really, just my world, and I really love it. And I still have a ton of love for Cicero. And I went to Martin East High School, and so, which is really like where my art career, I guess, started. So when I was 15, I took photo classes, and it really stuck with me. And so I studied photography at Illinois State University in Bloomington Normal. And that was just a really, really great experience. I kind of wasn't looking forward to going away at first. And I was like crazy homesick, and all I would talk about was Chicago. But then, once I got a little bit more settled, I really enjoyed, living in this small town, and there was a lot going on, lots of art events, and all the different people that I got to know is awesome.
Very cool. So you just got into photography through high school, mostly film and black and white and those kinds of things.
Yeah, darkroom photography. I can't really tell you. I've always wanted to take a photo class as a kid. I always
it just made sense.
Huh?
It just made sense, yeah.
Totally. I would take a camera with me everywhere, to the zoo on the last day of school, and it was just a part of me. And then it was one of the few things I was good at. I was not the best student in high school, so photography made sense. And, I got good grades, and so that was good.
I think that's one of the more interesting things, especially when you talk to people that were so into the arts. Frankly, sometimes didn't get the best grades, C's and B's or whatnot, but all of a sudden, as soon as you find your outlet, same thing happened with me, you'll just kind of pick it up, and you'll all of a sudden you'll find days, oh, where did that come from? You know what I mean? So it's really interesting to see the way people kind of just go into a certain subject and really grasp that whole. So why did you decide to move out of state, and what did you think about the program there more particularly?
At ISU? Well, I was at Morton College for a few years, and I kind of kept photography separate from the rest of the arts. And so my time at Morton College was also really great, because it was just about learning how to draw and paint and exploring this different side of the art world. And it started off really rough and raw, but then it just evolved. And so, but then it got to the point where I was just there too long, and I had to move on, and ISU was the place that just happened to work out.
So you studied photography more as an art form, obviously. Did you ever think about getting to more on a more professional level in terms of doing other kind of fashion or anything like that?
Well, I do like a lot of the street style blogs that are coming out. I think, I don't know, I really appreciate just everyday people on the street, and so I really follow those blogs a lot. But I like photography. Well, I like many forms of photography. I really, really love documentary and stuff like that. But I like using my voice in photography.
So tell me a little bit about your parents. How did they take to you, taking art classes and studying, photography, and then what did they think about that?
Well, my parents are really awesome now. They've always been great. They've always, of course, wanted the best for me and stuff like that. But, and I also went through a period where I didn't want to study photography. I wanted to be more practical, and that will never work out, as I'm told by many people.
It's difficult, yeah, for sure.
So when I returned to photography, I kind of told them. And I compare telling your parents that you want to be an artist to coming out of the closet, because they're like, no, why me, why, and they were just worried about me, and but then over time they became really supportive, and they're just extremely supportive now. They show up at all my events, and they're awesome.
So tell us about some of the, what actually got you coming back to Chicago. I'm assuming, school ended. How did you, more than anything, get involved with community organizing and in terms of taking the arts? And have you been knitting since you were a kid, or how did that kind of come about?
Well, I like to share the story that, when I was a kid, my grandmother lived in Texas. And so I have these great memories of these road trips we used to take. And if my grandmother would come visit us, she always had these beautiful, great, like handmade crocheted gifts for me. And she did sit me down once when I was a kid, and she tried to teach me, and I would get the hang of it, but I never got very far. And it's something I didn't really pay much attention to when I was younger. And so my last year of college, I learned how to knit. One of my really good friends, Taryn, taught me how to. And I was very stubborn. I just wanted to pick it up right away and know how to knit. And I always share that story with my students just because
it's frustrating.
It takes patience, it's a commitment, all that. And then, but then I also, now that I do know how to knit and crochet, I feel this really great connection to my grandmother. And so that's really special for me. And so...
what was the last thing you made for her?
I never made anything for her. She passed away a few years ago.
I'm sorry.
I think that connection is
okay.
important for
Yeah,
me now,
yeah. That's interesting. What about your parents? Did they really appreciate you?
Oh yeah, they can't believe it. I mean, my mom sews, and when I was a kid, she used to sew like our Halloween costumes. And I'm very curious also about learning how to sew, or I'm trying to. And but yeah, I've made stuff for my parents. My dad, I made him a scarf, and he won't even wear it because he thinks it's like too special. And my mom likes to show things off, but they're just amazed that I'm doing this. And
so, how exactly did Stich y Bitch actually come about? There are a few other founding members with you. How did that kind of? Yeah.
So, Stich y Bitch started when I moved back to Chicago. I got together with my friend Stephanie, and she was learning to crochet at the same time I was learning how to knit. And so the big plan was that we were going to start this group. Another reason that I wanted to start it was because my teacher, who was, she lived in Normal. I didn't have a teacher anymore. So I wanted to get to know other people that were doing the same thing. And other people that I could learn from or share things, like different techniques with and stuff like that.
Okay, so then where did you guys actually start getting together in the beginning?
We started to get together at Filipinas cafe in Pilsen. We really just started off as like 3 or 4 people. And it was just a really small group of us that it was friends. We would get together.
It was monthly or just whenever you guys were available?
It was every other week back
then.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah, we had a lot more time on our
So how did it all of a sudden become to this idea of an organization and other people more than anything joining on board? And how did that all of a sudden happen?
Well, we were definitely like very, we wanted to be in public. So we were very deliberate about being accessible and welcoming people and just being really like non-exclusive and stuff like that. It all kind of happened step by step. So, we slowly got on the internet and started like emailing out our updates, and, people would see us out in public and, they would ask us or, what we were doing, and then like the jokes would come out. It's like, oh, if you're making sweaters or old ladies, and actually a lot of it snowballed after we started to do like our first knit graffiti.
So tell me about that.
Well, we did a little bit of knit graffiti, kind of in the tradition of Knit a Fleece, who's based out of Texas, and that's another like kind of like phenomenon that has like really snowballed and you find all over the world. So we wanted to try our hand at it, and yeah, people recognized it. People started asking questions, and it kind of went from there.
Are there any other groups in Chicago that are doing it that you know of, or?
Yeah, I hear people. People ask me like they see stuff on the north side, like, did you do that, or from here and there? And I'm like, no, that's not mine, or that's not ours. But we try to keep it local.
So the name. Who came up with the name? Who was the one that was bold enough to?
My friend Ray helped us come up with the name. Stephanie and I were meeting and talking, and it's really just a twist off of Stich and Bitch, but we wanted it to be something that would just really give it a twist to the area that we're knitting in.
Okay. So then tell me a little bit afterwards. I know that you're at Pros Arts Studio right now. You're a teaching artist. You're actually working with youth and showing them how to teach. So what is that process? Because it's obviously a very unique and different medium. It's not at all the traditional art form considered. So what has been your experience with that?
It's really great. These like young people are just so talented, and I'm just having the time of my life. And I learned so much from them, and I hope that they do. It's like this equal exchange, I think. I don't know what, they just have, like, they naturally have all these great ideas. And the class, we do like traditional knitting projects where they make like scarves and neck warmers or hats. But then we also do a little bit of soft sculpture, to knit graffiti installation. And so when you have like 30 hands knitting, you can do some serious graffiti with that. But then they also have this great ability to just improvise and like make their own scarves or make a shawl or something. And so, this one girl made this really great shawl. And I'm like, I want to make that. And she just, made it up. So
that's very cool. So the meetups kind of continue. You're at Pros Arts, and have there been anything else that you've kind of started diving into, or what are some other organizations that you've been involved with as well? I know you've done some stuff with Proyecto Latina too.
Oh yes. Well, with Proyecto Latina, I help them a little bit with like their photography and different events, or with their monthly feature. They've been really great supporters of Stich y Bitch and also of the Heri Poder, which is the class that I teach at Pros. And we're really just supporting each other right now. And it's this really just great group of women in the arts. Women, so
yeah, how do you think that do you think that it's because it's this Mexican Latino community here in Pilsen where women just, you tend to congregate in a really beautiful way. Do you know what I mean? Is it just natural that all of a sudden it's an outlet and it just becomes like that? Or what is your experience with that stuff?
I think Proyecto Latina is doing a great job of that. They really are all about making a space for women. And it's really hard to say if it just, a Stich y Bitch is not just women. We have quite a few men. We've taught a lot of men how to knit. And so I think people always find that kind of curious or funny. But
yeah, last time, most guys that I'll talk to, they'll either want to go out to some game or play poker or whatever. So it's a very interesting.
Guys are savvy, and they'll, they want to knit because they want to knit something for their girlfriend or this girl that they like. Or, I don't know. We go out to the bar and stuff like that. And so, people see us knitting at bars. And we just like to have fun.
So any interesting kind of bits of inspiration that you can tell young women and young men more than anything who are really just trying to do, not to say that this is, completely different in an unorthodox kind of medium, but it is a little unique, right?
Right. Yeah, I think it's just really kind of having... what's the word I'm looking for? It's a hard question. I think it's just really going for it more than anything, and I look back on like when I first wanted to study art and now where I'm at now, and it's a completely different process, and everything that has come along the way, and I was so sure, and then I've been so doubtful at times. Like right after graduation, I was like, oh my God, what did I do? And it just took a little bit of work. So, it's just like anything else, you just have to work hard, you have to be a little bit determined and inspired to do what you love.
Yeah, and it's been good so far. Are there some ideas or plans for the future? Or how do you see this really growing and evolving?
Yeah, I think about that all the time. As far as a Stich y Bitch, I'm really, a Stich y Bitch and like the Heri Poder, they both keep me super busy, and I get really excited about all that. And as far as like a Stich y Bitch, I wish I had more time for them sometimes because, as a group or as a collective, making art with the group has been such a great experience. And so I love that. And so we actually have a show coming up in September at Athena Gallery. The Heri Poder is going to run up until spring next year. So, yeah, you might have to ask me in the springtime. It's going to be next year.
Well, this is very cool.
Yeah.
Well, this is awesome. Thank you so much for hanging out and talking. And we'll check out some pretty cool stuff that everybody's doing right now. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. This has been Abraham from Gozamos, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.
Thanks.